a chance to look at 4 different parts kits here. We've got a Mahdi kit from Egypt, a Bulgarian kit that's a 74 with polymer furniture, another Bulgarian kit that's a 74 with wood furniture, and then a Yugo in 7.62x39 with some of the characteristics of the Yugo kits. So since we have all 4, something I skipped was dust covers. So we've got 2 AK-74s here, the newer one and the older one. And like most of the Bulgarian parts, there's just about no difference. Looking at them from each direction, it's really difficult, except for this one's new and clean. This one's got the serial stamped in a little deeper there. This one's a lot lighter, and it's got a letter designation. Otherwise, except for the level of cosplaying on this one, there's very little difference. So this one is a 74. This one is an AKM. Now an AKM, as you'll see, also has a ribbed and dimpled, or whatever they call these ridges, the same as the 74. So a little bit different shape. The Bulgarian has a little bit more slant to it, a little bit different angle, a little bit different dust cover angle. Makes a big difference to some shooters, the dust cover angle. But very similar. In fact, you can see that they probably could have taken a very similar tooling and smashed it out on that, stamped it over. You can tell by looking that this is very square, even, proportional. The Egyptian one is a little goofy, a little cattywonk a little bit, but still works, I'm sure. Painted and parkerized and painted. This one is blued and then coated. But this is an AK-47. There's a little difference there. AKM. This is technically an AKM. Yugos are like an AK-47 in the regards that they use a different thickness of material. So if you look at it here, I don't know how obvious it's going to be in the camera because the way the camera's here, but this one is a 1 point, or this one is a point, this is a 0.5, this is a 1 mil, I think that's how it comes out. So this is a thicker receiver. Because it's thicker, you can't bend it. This one, it's possible if I really wanted to, I could bend this, I could screw around with this. This would be very difficult to do that. I could do it, but I have to use something, a machine, or step on it or something. Much stronger. So because it's stronger, it doesn't need these ridges and the lines to create rigidity. The shape of this is to create rigidity in such a long, stamped and formed part, where this one just uses more metal. And you hold on to them, even though this one, the Yugo, is just a bit shorter for whatever reason. The design of the gun, I guess. They do weigh about, it feels like they weigh the same. This one isn't noticeably lighter. But this one is the AKM, very similar to the AK-74. 74 kept it from the AKM. 47's though, smooth receiver. So one way you can take a look at a AK from a distance and see a smooth receiver, you're almost sure that it's a 7.62x39 because the 74s had the ridges on the dust cover. So it's a way to identify an AK from a distance, that it's more modern with the ridges. I guess something else we can mention is the holes on the gas block. Typically the holes are going to be on the gas block on the more modern ones. Of course, this is an exception to the rule, but on the AKs, the holes would have been on the gas tube. On a true AK-47, the holes are on the gas tube instead of on the gas block. And I think that's just more of a, they figured out that it works better to have the holes on the gas block than on the tube. Receiver covers, dust covers. So after we get to the spring, let's talk about rear trunnions. One of the most frustrating and difficult things to deal with on an AK build is this, the rear trunnion. So this rear trunnion is attached with one screw to a crutch style folder for an Egyptian. Crutch style folder looks like this, but also has a cool lever down here. Pretty easy to use, and when you push down on the lever, so it's just sticking for some reason. When you push down on the lever, you can see a little indent thing goes down and it moves. This one's not pinned. I think I just don't have any leverage at all to be able to actually pull it down against anything and it's not going to wiggle on me. But anyway, that one's attached to its to its stock. So that rear trunnion is attached to the stock. This is what the rear trunnion looks like on that one. This is what the rear trunnion looks like on the Yugo. And then of course this is the rear trunnion from the Bulgarian. If we reach over here and take a look at the rear trunnion from the modern Bulgarian, I don't think there's a difference at all between these. These could have been from the same bucket. This one says 5 on it and this one says 1, so they were in a different place in the mold. But however much of a span in years these two are, we don't see much difference in the part. Now a Yugo is a couple of reasons this one's different. It's an underfolder, so it's going to need a different trunnion to work with the underfolder parts. Because it doesn't have a stock coming off the back, it doesn't need this little tang thing. So if we take a look at this guy or this guy, they're both the same. They have this interface. So once you've got the, I'm going to go back to the Mahdi one here. I can see if I can take this screw out. Really? That's in there. You might want to booger it up since I'm selling this thing. I got a screwdriver anywhere? No, I don't. So, I was thinking that thing had a piece of receiver on it. It really doesn't. So you get the idea though that if this thing was attached to the receiver, the stock would insert into the back of the receiver, and this tang sticks out the back of the receiver, the channel, so a receiver is going to look like this. Most of this front end goes into the channel of the receiver. This screw on the outside screws in. You open up the dust cover, you put this thing in, and then your spring comes in and covers that screw pretty much all the time. And that screw goes down into that hole. That screw goes down into that hole. That's why there's a couple of holes in the top of your stock. And a couple of more holes there where this interfaces and goes in there. So the rear trunnion is going to go here. This is the actual back of the receiver. I guess I could have just showed you here. So these are the holes that it would have come out of. I spread it a little bit. Jam it in there. Those receiver stubs, or those, I'm not going to put it all back in there, but you can see how those rivet stubs are going to line up with those holes on the back of the receiver, and then this thing's going to, the top rails of the receiver are going to fit into the top notches of the trunnion. I guess I am going to jam it in here. Actually, normally they slide in because they don't have a bunch of rivets poking out. This one does, so it's being finicky. But that's effectively what you'd have sticking out, and this guy would come in. I can get it to jam in, but you get the idea. Then you get a screw here, and now your receiver is connected to your thing without that gap normally. But I'm not going to try to snap those things in. So that's your rear trunnion. And the reason I say these are the worst things to deal with is because these two aren't too bad actually. These are actually pretty easy. You're just going to take a screwdriver and knock the piece of those rivets out. That one is a soft rivet that goes through a channel in this hardened receiver. That's a very difficult thing to get out. Here's one without the rivet in place ever. It's brand new, so it's never had the rivet in there. And imagine if you had that channel filled with the rivet that's been compressed, you know, professionally for a reason to keep the gun together, and now you got to somehow drill that rivet out. That's hard to do. So this is the toughest part in my experience of dealing with an AK build. Every once in a while you get a Mahdi one like this, where you've got that same problem twice. So you've got that here and here. Moddies are awesome, but that's the headache of a Moddy. You can break a trunnion doing that, you can break a mill, so that's something that you're going to want to talk to people who've done this a couple of times and get some various advice so you have some idea what going into that one. That's the big project. This one has had it removed. I don't know why. It's a complete kit, but somebody went to the effort of removing that. That's when you know you've got an awesome kit. So here's the big difference. You can see straight through that guy. This one's got a rivet in there. These little guys are no big deal. They pop right out, as you can see. This one is a hole straight through there. We got it lined up in the camera well, but this one has a big rivet right through there. So easy. Spend all day making AKs, headache. Spend all day drilling out one hole potentially. Alright, so now you've gone from the muzzle to the front sight to the gas block to the rear sight to the trunnion. We looked at the spring, we looked at the rear trunnion, which holds the stock on and deals with the back end of the receiver for us. And as you can see, this is the back end of the receiver. It would normally be flopping around in the wind. The trunnion comes in, attaches in 4 different places, one all the way through, and typically in 2 different places or all the way through. So it locks up the back of your receiver. The front of your receiver is in the trunnion, so it's locked up, and then you've got some channels that are chopped in half. You can see the channels kind of chop the ends off of the channels on this guy. This was a chopped kit as opposed to a torch cut kit. This virgin kit has never even been assembled. These are what the rails look like before they're spot welded. Let's see, like this. Like this into the AK receiver to do the job of extracting and giving rigidity and creating another layer, another set of channels for the bolt carrier to ride in. So let's look at bolt carriers slash pistons, because they're always connected on pretty much every parts kit I've seen, even on this virgin kit, which is weird. So Bulgarian older, Bulgarian newer. Let's pull that bolt out by flipping it around until it is locked, then pulling it backwards and flipping it the other way. And when you flip it the other way, it'll come out. So new one versus old, very little difference. Very little difference in the processes and the finish. So, you know, the furniture is about the only difference there. Nice new kit. It was a gun, it was taken apart, but with such deliberate care, that's probably the most modern gun and the most modern, worth the time, knowing they're going to send it to the United States to become a kit. It was worth the time not to screw anything up and to do things like get rid of that rear trunnion, because they knew that whatever time they spend doing that is cash. A builder's going to appreciate that. This one's got some Cosmoline junk on there, and we're going to use that to compare with the Egyptian one, which is again going to be very similar to a Russian or a German, and very similar. A lot more weight here. 7.62 by 39, 5.45, so more weight, but similar design. Dimensionality is fairly similar. This one is a little bit longer. It looks like, at least, maybe that's an optical illusion. Pistons, very similar considering they're different calibers. And again, very, very similar. If I didn't know that this one had a bunch of Cosmoline on it and this one doesn't, even though it's Egyptian, it would be difficult to tell the difference. Bringing up 7.62 by 39, let's compare the two 7.62 by 39s, a Egyptian and a Yugo. Again, very similar here. They didn't change much, so I guess Yugo, who likes to change everything, they changed the shape of the piston, I guess. Does that really matter? But they changed the shape of the piston. Dimensionality and process, a little bit more crude for the Egyptian. A few more machine tool marks and that kind of thing, but otherwise very similar, and I'm assuming they weigh about the same too. So that's our gas pistons, which are attached to the carrier. They're screwed in There's a hole drilled, and then they smooth it all out with a grinder and a polisher sometimes. But you can't really tell that it's two pieces. Here's one that's been in a gun. It's screwed in, then they drill a hole, grind the pin off, and then glue this side. This is made out of stainless, so it doesn't glue good, I guess. And maybe the Egyptian will be a little more crude. You can kind of see the pin on that. I don't know if you can see it, but this one is a bit more crude. You can see where the pin was. They're all wiggly. That's normal. It's not a big deal for even on a Bulgarian. The threading here is pretty sloppy. I think it's designed to be a little bit wobbly for some reason. Because everyone is always. This one's even more wobbly. Alright, so that's the bolt carrier. And I might be missing a couple of other things, but those are getting beyond the realm of parts kits and beyond the realm of the differences and similarities between these parts kits. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour. These parts kits are going to auction, so I had to do this one before they left us. But hopefully they'll pay a bunch of bills off and we'll get back on the road and experience more of our gun community out there. So if you have any questions, let us know. We did take quite a few pictures of these, and we can potentially answer some questions through those pictures or other examples out there. We do appreciate your time, and as always, thank you for watching.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching GunWebsites.com.